Hello, my name is Ruth Harrison, and I am doing the talk Making Space for Diversity, using an inspirational industry to tackle equality. I am passionate about diversity, and in particular bringing new voices to STEM, science, technology, engineering and maths. I believe that space should be for all, and that moving humanity forward requires an understanding of all aspects of our society. I am currently studying a Masters in Space Operations at the University of New South Wales, Canberra, and I work in creating opportunity for diverse voices in STEM. I also write about the Australian space industry for spaceaustralia.com, an online news site. If we look through the lens of the media today, you might think we don't have a problem of representation. Many of us would know the women shown here and what they represent. However, what these pictures don't tell you is the whole story. These women were leaders of their time, and some were only recognised after their death or in very recent years. Some have had to work harder to stand out and overcome stereotypes and systematic biases, and some have had to work very hard to get where they are today. As of 2021, only 65 women have been into space. That's 65 out of 598. That's just over 10%. Women have also spent just over 10% of the total time in space. However, 11% of that time belongs to just one person, Dr. Peggy Whitson, who alone managed over 2 years in space. That's an awful lot of time in space. For NASA, though, only 5% of its astronaut population is of African American descent. And to date, no openly gay or transgender person has gone into space. And whilst numbers and awareness within the astronaut community have been improving, it is still like saying pilots are the whole of the aviation story. There is so much more to space than the astronauts that get sent into space. This is what the leadership of international space industry looks like. And if you merge all of these faces into one, I'm sure you might recognise this person. Take a good look. There has never been a woman as the NASA administrator. There have been 6 women as deputy administrators since 2005, when the first woman took on that role, Shauna Dale. However, there's only ever been one NASA administrator of an African American descent. And there's never been a woman Director General of the European Space Agency. I think we have a problem here. And it's not just the people, it's the names that we use. If you ask anyone outside of the space industry about space projects, they are likely to know these two, outside of the International Space Station and the moon missions. Whilst the people named in these projects believe the people named deserve the recognition, it does say a lot about what we think about space. These were both multi-generational projects and should be named accordingly. Names, language and representation matters. And the problem is wider than just the space industry. STEM at large has a problem. It has a problem at lower levels, but more so at higher levels, where we are not seeing enough women and diverse voices making it into the higher level STEM roles. While women make up 28% of Australia's total STEM employed population, only 22% of that is STEM university qualified managers, and 13% of executives are women. This is just not good enough. It shows that our talent pipeline is not being sustained. And these are the figures I could find. It is worse for people of non-Anglo backgrounds, Indigenous Australians, migrants, and those from the LGBTIQ+ community. We need to do better, and we need to show that these roles and opportunities are there for everyone. You may have seen the European Space Agency's most recent para-astronaut programme. And whilst these headlines are fantastic, and this push to recruit para-astronauts is a significant step, we still have significant issues with people with disabilities getting jobs at all. And it's clear that this kind of recruitment matters. They had over 23,000 people apply for just 4 astronaut positions, and that's if they're lucky. So we need more of these things. Space should be the ultimate leveller, yet it is still being driven, at least in so much as the popular media suggests, by the same old ideals. There are still many roles and opportunities outside those headline ones, the ones that we need to share, from scientists working on flexible solar panels, doctors learning about the human body and how it reacts to space, to new medical tools and antivirus coatings. There are developments in remote operations, augmented reality, additive manufacturing, and much, much more. Yet these programs don't always make it into the popular media and into the minds of people who have the potential to work in this industry. I'm sure many of you know this quote. In 2009, Ruth Bader Ginsburg made this famous quote. But we need to remember that diversity is so much more than gender. We need more voices in the room, and we need to get the bigger picture. So I have modified this famous quote, and I believe that within an industry such as space, which is so inspirational to so many, we need to reflect society better, particularly at the top where the decisions are made. So in all the places that decisions are made should be a group of diverse voices that are listened to, appreciated, and their experience is validated. That last bit is really important because sometimes we are very quick to dismiss somebody's experiences because they have not been our own. The UK recently did a comprehensive study into the UK space industry, and the results reflect what I think we already know. In the UK, only 8.1% of men and women working in engineering were from Black, Asian and minority ethnic backgrounds. And people from more advantaged socio-economic backgrounds are overrepresented, with the proportion of privately educated people more than twice the national average. And if we look at the UN, where they confirm that less than 70 women have travelled into space, yet only 15 women have completed spacewalks out of the 225 that have been completed to date. So we know that those from ethnic backgrounds are underrepresented and those from higher socio-economic backgrounds are overrepresented. There is also a large skew towards a younger demographic, with 40% under 35. Ageism is another major area of bias where women are overrepresented and it impacts them greater. Yet space impacts our society in the most fundamental of ways, from supporting how we have kept in touch during a global pandemic to understanding how climate change impacts remote societies. NASA alone has develops around 1,600 new technologies a year. So we have new ways to do things, new ways to reduce and new ways to make. We need diverse voices to tackle the most challenging problems so that we get the most information that we can. Space leverages an interest in science and technology, even if the person doesn't realise it. And it encourages international collaboration. What could be better than that? So what do we do? How do we make space an industry that is accessible to all, and with that help us to make our world more inclusive? What it takes on a micro level is understanding. A moment to walk in someone else's shoes, roll in their wheelchair or follow their service dog. We need data on what works and what doesn't. Talking to the people that are more impacted, but not just talking, listening and accepting that the world has not been inclusive to them. Inclusion is not a tick box exercise. It's not a program of education or a PowerPoint presentation like this one. It's a daily challenge to challenge your thinking, challenge your expectations, and to challenge your own experience of life. What could have been a minor inconvenience to you could have been a total barrier to somebody else. Realise that diversity is so much more than gender. It's intersectional, and at each of those intersects are more barriers to achievement. And like any good science project, try something and get the results, understand the results, get the feedback and try again, where there is always room for improvement. And understand that the burden of responsibility is not for the disadvantaged for them to provide all the answers, to do the research or to be more disadvantaged, but listen when they tell you their experiences. Finally, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. We can be biased to what we see and biased to our own life experiences. Another aspect is that language matters. Language has a major part to play. I still see manned versus crewed. I still see unmanned versus remote operated. There are so many options here where language, if just simple changes, could be so much more inclusive. It does matter what we call someone, how we describe ourselves, and how we describe what we do. And stereotypes are just that, someone else's idea of what is normal and what the normal should be, whereas normal should not be normal at all. And if you're uncomfortable using someone's pronouns, ask yourself why. It matters to them, so it should matter to you. And advocating on behalf of others that are not in the room, or picking up when someone tries to claim an idea or speak over others, or make stereotypical assumptions, that's what makes a good ally. And good allies is what we need. Finally, diversity helps everyone, whether it is designing equipment that suits all body types or including diversity of voices at your conference. Diversity brings more ideas, more knowledge, better outcomes, happier workplace, and more engaged employees. So if you do want to know more or understand where to start, find a local diversity and inclusion practitioner. They'll be more than happy to start you on your journey. But do start at home and ask the question, what would make your workplace more inclusive today? And what could you do to help somebody overcome their disadvantage? Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed my talk.